Today we are hearing from the team at JSM about how to further your career in Hong Kong. So my name is Jane Bryan. I'm a professor at Warwick Law School, and this is part of our careers series. So I'm delighted to welcome you to the team from JSM. Rachel Guan is the graduate recruitment manager from JSM, and Rachel's joined by Gina and Calvin, who are going to be joining the firm in August as trainee solicitors. So I'm going to let you hear from Rachel, and I understand Gina and Calvin about how you can perhaps follow in their footsteps. Over to you, Rachel.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jane. Really pleased to be here today. And yeah, really excited to share with you some tips about training as a solicitor in Hong Kong. So everybody is welcome to this session, but one of the things I would like to flag at the outset is that training in Hong Kong, whilst there are similarities to training in the UK, you do need to understand what your potential for being recruited here in Hong Kong is like before you commit to doing lots of applications. So I want to be frank up front and say that to have a realistic chance of securing a Hong Kong training contract, you do need some kind of existing connection with Hong Kong. Now, that could be a few things. Maybe you are from Hong Kong, maybe you grew up in Hong Kong. Maybe you consider your Hong Kong to be your home. You might have spent years away for education, but maybe you want to return. Alternatively, maybe you are from mainland China, and having studied, Hong Kong and mainland China have a different system of law. So maybe having studied law in the UK, which is a common law jurisdiction, you're looking for a common law jurisdiction in Asia. Hong Kong does welcome mainland China talent. So just, or maybe you have some other sort of connection with Hong Kong, but realistically, you do need that kind of nexus with us. Understanding the legal market, Hong Kong is a trilingual society, Cantonese, English and Mandarin. Our operating language at work is English. However, you do need strong written, read and spoken Chinese, whether that is Cantonese or Mandarin, or even both. That is generally a requirement for training contracts across law firms in Hong Kong. So if that's not you, do consider how best to apply your efforts in a jurisdiction where your strengths will shine. However, if that's not you, don't worry, do stay for this session, because from a graduate recruitment manager's perspective, I've got plenty of tips that are useful for all, whether you're looking to train in the UK, not just Hong Kong. So getting the most from this session, if you are able to, we welcome you to have your cameras on, because it's always nice to see who is joining us. Stay muted. Feel free to raise a question and unmute, or just type it in the Q&A and I'll read it out. So Jane kindly introduced us. So to give you a little bit more background, my name is Rachel. I am a solicitor. I trained originally in England and Wales before moving to Hong Kong about 15 years ago. And I have since moved into being first learning and development and now graduate recruitment and development here at Johnson Stokes and Masters. And I've put my LinkedIn there. You're welcome, very welcome to connect with me. I'd also like to introduce to you Kelvin. Kelvin is joining us as a trainee in just a couple of months. He's got just finishing off that student life now. He's joining us as a trainee at the end of August. He has just finished the PCLL, the Postgraduate Certificate in Law, which is the law school year here in Hong Kong at City University in Hong Kong. And prior to that, he did a Bachelor of Laws at the University of Birmingham. And then finally, I'd like to introduce Gina. Gina is also in the same batch as Kelvin, joining us as a trainee in August, and has also just finished the PCLL at City University of Hong Kong. And she prior was at Warwick, the University of Warwick, where she did a Bachelor of Laws, graduating in 2024 with honours. And something interesting about Gina is that while she was at Warwick, she was involved in helping Hong Kong students focus on getting that career opportunity back in Hong Kong. So you may have heard of it, but she was the external vice president for the UK Joint University Hong Kong Career Society, which organises a very well-known law trek. They call it a law trek, which is visits to lots of law firms in the summer each year. So if you aren't aware of JCUS, I encourage you to look them up, and that is an additional way to build your know-how about law firms and recruitment processes here in Hong Kong. We have all given our LinkedIn, and you are welcome to connect with us. Okay, so let's move on now to what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to introduce Johnson Stokes and Master, or JSM. I will give you a brief introduction about us, but really the main focus will be about how to line yourself up for a legal career, whether at Johnson Stokes and Master, a different law firm, or even as a barrister here in Hong Kong. And then we will close with times for questions. So let's get started. Johnson Stokes and Master is one of the oldest law firms in Hong Kong. We were established in 1863, which really means that we have deep roots in Hong Kong. Many of our clients are the clients that built Hong Kong into the sort of centre of business that it is today. We describe ourselves as a preeminent law firm in Hong Kong because our reputation is everything to us, and the excellence with which we aspire to serve our clients is paramount. So 4 things really that I'd like to share with you about JSM. Maybe if you're not familiar with us, or maybe if you are, I can share with you a little bit of information. So the first thing I'd like you to know is that we advise on the full spectrum of legal issues arising on the most complex deals and disputes in and around the region. The second thing, we support clients from Hong Kong and mainland China to grow locally, but also to expand internationally. Third, we advise international clients on their business and investments in Hong Kong and mainland China, and particularly the Greater Bay Area, which is the area surrounding Hong Kong that is being developed in mainland China. And then finally, our vision is to support both our clients and the broader community in Hong Kong and mainland China. And I really just want to pause for a moment on that last point. Something that I have been at Johnson Stokes and Master for about 10 years now. And something that has really impressed me from the moment that I joined is how there is an awareness of our firm in the local community. If the average person in the street knows just one law firm, the chances are that they know our law firm, and our Chinese name Masida has a high value, has a high brand recognition in the general Hong Kong community. So that means also, conversely, that we take our commitment to the community very seriously. We have a very active pro bono engagement where we act across all sections of the community and for all sections of the community. And we also have a very strong responsible business program as well, and I'm really proud. You know, as you all know, law firms in geopolitics are being affected, and things like DE&I are being rolled back in some parts of the world. I can honestly say that that is not affecting us, and it is something that we continue to grow and continue to be really proud of. Okay, so I mentioned us being a full service law firm just now. So what does that look like? It means that we are able to support our clients across each of these main service areas. And, we are, providing comprehensive advice across all of them. So if I take a couple of examples, banking and finance, we are acting for lenders, for borrowers. We're at the forefront of finance in Hong Kong, both international and local expertise, meaning that we act on all kinds of transactions, whether it's domestic or cross-border. To take another example, I'm looking at real estate right now. Real estate is something that we are really well known for. The real estate, Hong Kong is real estate in Hong Kong as an industry is fundamental to the development of Hong Kong and the growth of Hong Kong. If you talk to any lawyer across Hong Kong, they will say that the real estate deeds that they came across for the properties that they're handling were generated by Johnson Stokes and Master way back when. So it is something that we have very, very deep roots in and are very well known for, but it is also an area where we continue to innovate. For example, we have finance lawyers, we have corporate lawyers within our real estate departments, real estate team, and they are doing all kinds of innovative structures. Litigation, we support clients with strategic solutions to avoid disputes and resolve complex cases. And finally, corporate and securities, again, we are supporting clients across a range of activities, whether it's corporate finance, mergers and acquisitions, regulatory issues, all sorts of things. Now, those are just some of our services. We also have capabilities in other sectors, but I'm going to move on for now. Now, this is the main part of what I wanted to cover today, because I'm really thinking, rather than just give you, a lineup about our firm, thinking about your needs as law students, I'm really trying to think about how we can help you think about how to line yourself up for a successful legal career here in Hong Kong. So the first thing I wanted to really say is that I think becoming a solicitor or a barrister anywhere, whether you're looking to qualify in the UK or in Hong Kong, it really does take hard work, resilience, determination, and a willingness to accept setbacks, because it is a competitive field. You really also need to be looking beyond your initial learning, initial law degree to understand, how long this is potentially going to take you. And I would say, at the minimum, it's going to take you 5 to 6 years if everything goes smoothly. Because what you can see from this chart here is that from a perspective of a student studying in the UK, what we would call that a qualifying law degree, you'll be pleased to know. If you have that law degree from the UK, well, I think the first thing that you may notice is that you are going to be treated a little bit differently from students in Hong Kong who have done a local law degree, in that you also need to do some examinations. Now, these are the PCLL conversion examinations, which are a requirement for acceptance onto the postgraduate certificate in laws, or the PCLL, which is the mandatory full-time year of study required, whether you are considering a training contract or a pupillage as a barrister. Now, Gina and Kelvin, who are joining us today, are at the very tail end of their PCLL, so they are one step ahead of this. But I'm going to invite Kelvin now to share with us his experience on taking these PCLL conversion exams, because that's probably, if you're thinking of training in Hong Kong right now, that's probably the next step that you need to think about. So Kelvin, over to you.
Thank you, Rachel. And for before knowing how to take the PCL conversions, we must know the purpose of it. It helps the conversion exams itself is to help you to grasp all the knowledge you need to have before you get into the PCLL. So it's a must if you study in the UK, for example, as you need to have some legal knowledge of the Hong Kong legal system as to get into PCLO. And secondly, I will share some tips on how to prepare for it. So as you can see from the slides, you got the core subjects as well as the possible top-up subjects. So the core subjects are mainly the legal modules you've taken in your own law school. And for the purpose of the conversion exams, mostly the core subjects can get exemptions from the PCLL Conversion Examination Board, which means you can basically skip the core subjects if you take commercial law, criminal evidence modules, and but for the top-up subjects, which is Hong Kong constitutional law, Hong Kong land law, legal system, it's a must to take it for the conversion purposes. And from my own experience, I would advise students to plan on the timeline on which subjects they're going to take. For instances, for myself, I start taking the top-up subjects conversion exam in my first year law school summer, which is the constitutional law and legal system. And for the Hong Kong land law, the examination board advises students to take it after they take the land law modules in their own law school. Yeah, so that's the very beginning steps of taking conversion, and mostly you could got exemptions from the examination board, but bear in mind it's not applicable to on the same standard to every student. So it's an ad hoc basis. So you need to submit evidence to the conversion board in order to get the exemptions. And be aware of the dates for the January 2026 exams. First, for the evaluation, you need to submit by the 1st of August 2025 and apply to sit the exams by the 1st of November 2025. And that's basically the timeline I was going to take back then in my law school. And back to you, Rachel.
Thank you. May I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm wondering, how many exemptions did you get? And you and Gina were at different universities, one of you at Warwick, one of you at Birmingham. Did you get the same exemptions?
Because I did the commercial law module and the criminal evidence module, as well as the company law modules. So I got exemptions for business associations, evidence, and commercial law part A. So which means that I need to take commercial law part B and C for the core subjects. And other than that, all other subjects are exempted.
Okay, and how about you, Gina?
At Warwick, I took evidence, law of business organizations, which is company law, and also commercial law. But my results were a bit different from Calvin's because I think at work we learn like the syllabus for commercial law is different from Birmingham Law School. So I got exempted from both parts A and B of commercial law.
Well
so
done.
I only had to take part C commercial law, and evidence and business associations were also exempted.
Okay, super. So thank you. That really does endorse, the experiences that people, depending on which law school they are at, people will get different exemptions, and it is always on a case-by-case basis. So don't think that because somebody who was in the year ahead of you only had to do a certain number of exams that you would only have to do those. You need to be prepared to possibly do more. The other thing to note is that these examinations are held twice a year in Hong Kong only. So you need to be prepared to come back to Hong Kong regularly certainly during your second year of university. How many, just asking you both briefly again, how many times did you come back to Hong Kong to do these exams? Kelvin, let's ask you.
I think I come back for 3 times.
3 times. Okay.
Yeah, should be 3 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a big commitment to get through these exams on top in parallel to doing your undergraduate law degree. Okay, moving on. So well done. You've done the PCLL conversion exams, and like Kelvin and Gina, you've also now done the PCLL. You're looking at a training contract if you want to indeed become a solicitor. So where can you train in Hong Kong? Well, the great news is we have a really vibrant legal market, and we have law firms of different sizes, different areas of practice, ranging from international firms, magic circle firms, independent Hong Kong firms such as us, and then smaller niche firms. So there is a real range there. In addition, the Department of Justice here in Hong Kong also offers training contracts. And then finally, but not very many, there are some in-house providers of training contracts, but my impression is those are more on an ad hoc basis. So I want to flip this now and start to share with you a little bit of the law firm's perspective. Because I'm hoping that by sharing you some of my perspective or some of the law firm's perspective, you can start to really understand what it is we're looking for and get ahead of the game. So the first thing to note is that we are regulated by the Law Society of Hong Kong. And the law firm of the Law Society of Hong Kong says that we can only recruit trainees up to 2 years ahead from the start of the training contract. So that is why we are only able to invite penultimate year law students to apply to us. If a trainee is if a candidate is successful in obtaining an offer, then an offer from a firm such as us will include the PCLL costs and also a maintenance grant. But again, law firms of different sizes will have different offerings. Smaller law firms are much more likely to recruit just 1 year ahead, or perhaps even in the PCLL year. But regardless of what type of law firm we are all making very careful decisions about what our pipeline needs for trainees are, and we are definitely affected by forecast business needs. So we are having to do that curious thing of looking ahead 2 years, trying to work out what we think our our needs will be in 2 years. That said, we all recruit to retain. It costs an awful lot of money to recruit and train a trainee solicitor. So we are in it, we are looking to retain our future lawyers, essentially. If you take JSM as an example, we've got about 40 partners, I believe, and about 20 of those currently are homegrown partners. Moving on, I want to sort of share with you some tips and insights into the recruitment process. So again, we recruit often, different training contract providers will offer a mix of summer internships, and that could be in June, that could be in July, 4 weeks usually, maybe 2 weeks. At some other firms, it's 4 weeks with us. Winter internships, which I think are less attractive for UK-based students because you're not necessarily able to be in here in Hong Kong at that time. Also direct training contract applications. But again, it's about understanding what is this firm's preferred route. It will be direct training contract applications. For a firm such as JSM, where we are recruiting 2 years ahead, we don't need to do direct training contract applications, we will select from our summer internship. So you must treat, if you're trying, understand the firm that you are applying to, and securing that summer internship really is the best way to set yourself up for a successful training contract application. I want to share with you how our application process works, and I'm just using us as an example. It's going to be different across different law firms, but there will also be some similarities. So generally, we all kick off in about September. And in our case, we have an online application that you can click onto via our website. At the point that you complete our online application, you will then be invited to take an online assessment. And then once we've had a chance to look at the results of all of that, we will invite a certain number of people in for interview. Now, we will do those interviews either in person here in Hong Kong, or if you are overseas, and many Hong Kong students go on exchange overseas, or like yourselves, you are based overseas, then we will simply do that remotely. Now, I wanted to share, I love sharing with you insights that I think, you're probably not going to get to see otherwise. And I wanted to share with you what our application timeline looks like. I said just now that we open on the 1st of September, and this is a graph showing the number of applications that we got in the most recent recruitment round for this year's summer internships, up all the way through until the point that it closes. And I think you can see that there were fairly steady but not that high activity until right at the end, when everybody managed to get their applications in just on time. So what that is telling you is that we as a firm, we recruit on a non-rolling basis. What that means is we have a recruitment period, and you can apply at any point in that recruitment period. It's just human nature, having given you that ability to apply at any time. It is just human nature that everybody gets their application in at the last minute. However, not all firms recruit on this basis. Other firms are much more, they recruit on a rolling basis, which means as soon as they meet a suitable candidate, they will make that candidate an offer, and that will continue until all of their spots are filled up. So you really do need to understand when you apply to a firm, is this firm recruiting on a rolling or a non-rolling basis? I myself, I much prefer recruiting on a non-rolling basis, because I think it leads to unnecessary stress for both sides about offers and acceptances. So make sure that you understand that. Some other tips that I'd like to share for your application process is just, first of all, understanding what the purpose of that application form is. And really what that is doing is simply confirming your qualifications, your technical skills, your right to be considered for an interview. And we are at this point just running fundamental checks to see, do you have a qualifying law degree? And remember, a law degree from the UK is a qualifying law degree for Hong Kong, albeit a non-local law degree. We're checking to see that you're applying at the right stage. I mentioned just now, we can only approach law students at the earliest in their penultimate year of a law degree. And I personally, I'm not particularly looking at grades because they're always usually very, very good. But, I'm not going to sort people on that basis at that stage, although other law firms may well do so. Now, I want to share with you in this first stage why I rejected people. I rejected 3% of people at this stage because they had no law degree. So I don't know why they were applying to us. Actually, what that means is they didn't have a qualifying law degree. Oh, no, 3% of people had no law degree. So that might have meant they were studying history or English or some such. That's usually people who are in the UK, who in the UK you can do a non-law degree, and there is a route to training as a solicitor. I myself took that route, but in Hong Kong we need you to either have a law degree or to have done a JD here in Hong Kong, essentially. So 3% I rejected on that basis. An additional 3% I rejected because their law degree was from a non-qualifying jurisdiction. And what that typically meant was they were applying from a civil code jurisdiction, probably mainland China, and they didn't, or not just mainland China, or perhaps they had been in a jurisdiction such as New York or Canada, which, while aligned, are not qualifying law degrees for here in Hong Kong. The next 4% of applicants I had to reject because although they did have a qualifying law degree, they were applying too soon. They were in their first or their second year of university, for example. And then finally, I rejected 1% more of applicants because their application was incomplete or defective in some way. Now, at this point, I am asking myself, did you put in any effort into completing this application form? Majority of people did, but for incomplete or defective, they didn't finish it. Or defective, I remember, one person last year had why they wanted to be a barrister in their application form, which is a very noble calling, but it is not the calling that we are able to answer. So I rejected on that basis. So, when you are putting in multiple applications, none of you joining today are going to be in the first two categories here, but you may be in the third, in which case come back and try again. But you may also be in the fourth, which is just make sure you put in an application that is complete and that shows you want to be a solicitor. So of all of those applications, from those online applications, only 89% went forward to our online assessment. Our application form, I'm just sharing with you some types of questions here. We ask you about your non-academic achievements and interests because we want to get a feeling for you as a person. We're interested in people. And, we are a people business, and that means people with well-rounded interests and life outside of law. That's something that we want to know about. But we do also want to know about your motivation generally. And so we do ask, explain why you have decided to pursue a career as a solicitor. Other firms are looking for you to really assess you as a match for that particular firm. And I'll give you an example here where they're asking for you for about alignment with their core competencies. And they're giving you a big hint there for what they're looking for. As far as I'm concerned, I welcome use of life experience or observation to answer these questions. As a general comment, Hong Kong law students are not short on work experience and having been in different solicitors' firms or at the bar or at the court. But, I don't expect people to have that. So answering from life experience or observations that whatever you've come across is totally valid. Whatever you put in here, you should expect to be questioned on as at interview, because you're essentially saying, ask me about this. So that's your application form, at which point people tend to put it in and then they promptly forget about it. But from my point of view, this is where my work is now starting. And so something I want to let law students know is that your application is a process. It is not a one-off thing. It is a process over a period of time. And so I want to offer you some simple reminders about that. And my number one tip is check your email, please. And don't just check your email, because you may have an email from us inviting you to an interview. Don't just check your email, check your junk email. Simple things, but many strong applicants have fallen because they simply did not see the email from us. And that's not something that I can take responsibility for. It is something that you as an individual have to put safeguards in, and that ultimately you have to take responsibility for. I have dealt with many an upset law student who didn't respond at the deadline by the point that we needed them to respond to an invitation, and they were so distraught. But we run a fair process, and if you choose to eliminate yourself by not checking your email, I'm afraid that's just going to have to be a lesson for you. I wish it didn't happen, but it does, and it happens every single year. And in fact, 8% of our applicants last year failed to progress from application to doing our online assessment, most probably because they didn't check their email. It could also be that they decided not to, or they just didn't get around to doing it, but I suspect it's because they missed the email. So don't be in that 8%. So my 89% has now automatically self-sorted itself down to 81% without me even doing anything, at which point I'm thanking you because you've just made my job a little bit easier. We receive hundreds of applications, and to be honest, it is a sorting bucket, and that's exactly what this online assessment is doing. So I'm sure you've all seen the film Harry Potter. The sorting hat sorts out what you're going to do. This is essentially what we are using our online assessment to do. In our case, this is an online assessment provided by a third party. It's something that we have bought. Which means you should be getting experience across other law firms doing their kinds of online assessments, but it is something that it's doing the sorting for us because it knows the data on what law firms generally are looking for in a law student. So my tip for doing the online assessment is to really take this seriously. And set yourself up for success. Are there practice questions that you can do? Make sure that you have a quiet, secure internet location. Work at a steady pace. Writing to me to say my internet failed, or I forgot to bring a computer cable with me, can I take it again? I'm afraid the answer is simply going to be no. So those are simple things that you can do to set yourself up for the best possible success in our online assessment. Now, assuming that none of that is an issue, what can you expect in our online assessment? Well, if you remember just now, I said that the technical skills are things that we were being assessed, we were collecting from you in the application form. So the online assessment is going to be something a little bit different. It's going to be a mixture of cognitive skills, so verbal reasoning, critical thinking, but also behavioral skills. So remember, I said we were a people business. We are looking for people who collaborate, people who have drive, people with resilience, and people who understand that as a commercial business, strategic awareness. So these behavioral skills are the fundamental underpinning of what it takes for you to deliver performance at work as young professionals. We know that you don't have the experience because you've just finished university. So this is different from when you do recruitment at other stages of your life. So therefore, we are looking to see how you would behave in particular situations. These are not particular to the particular task or job. These skills are transferable or durable over time. And the final thing I would say is that they are not informed by expensive education. Everybody has had different experiences. They are shaped and refined during our intrinsic, through our intrinsic human development as we make our way through life. So I mentioned just now that we purchase, that we use, that we work with a vendor to put together our online assessment. They have data across sectors, in this case the legal sector, that shows what are the behavioral skills that we law firms are looking for. And so I'm actually going to share those with you right now. We're looking for people who are adaptable, collaborate, people who can communicate well, people who are willing to grow and learn, people who can display and demonstrate judgment in challenging circumstances, people who take personal responsibility, and by that I also include have a sense of integrity. And finally, people who are able to, call upon a bundle of resilient skills. So wherever you are in that, if you have some or all of those, you are going to be a strong candidate, and that is what our online assessment is designed to pull out. I've gone through some of these preparation tips, but just to say, every year we have candidates who fail to progress because of these simple omissions. Now, how do you get from assessment all the way to interview? There is no magic. Remember I said we talked about our pipeline needs, and we're forecasting 2 years ahead. So we have that magic number of how many trainees, and we're in 2025 now, and I'm recruiting for 2027 right now. I'll be soon starting for 2028. I already know how many trainees I need in 2028 because I've worked with the business and we have worked that out. So if I need X number of trainees, I'm going to multiply that number by probably 2.5, 3, possibly 4. I'm talking about different law firms here. They'll have a different ratio. I think we tend to go for 3. And that will produce the number of summer intern spots that we will offer. And then for good measure, we'll add on a couple more to give us a total number of people that we will interview. So if you manage to get called for interviewed, I'll come back to that in a moment, but if you manage to get called for interviewed, that is a sign that we really want to talk to you. It is not speculative. These are the scores from our online assessment. So who gets to interview? So this is the scoring that everybody did for our summer assessment last summer. I don't think I'm giving anything away. But, if you were calling people to interview and you've got a finite number of people, where would you start? And of course, it's no surprise to say that we start at the top, the highest scorer, and we work our way along and down until we reach the right number of people that we are able to interview. So you can see that we do get some high scorers, but that the majority of people are really bunched very closely together score-wise. And so the difference between somebody who does not get an interview and somebody who does get an interview can really be very, very small. The reason I say that is, again, every year I deal with disappointment. People who didn't get called to interview and who then are very harsh on themselves and feel that they have failed. And they want to know, how did they fail? What could they possibly do better to come, what is there any way that we could look at it again? And really, I just want to say to law students, when you don't, these assessments are tough, the competition is high. When you don't get through them, you haven't failed. The chances are you are probably bunched there squarely along with lots of other students in the sort of midline ratio of that. So if you aren't called for interview, it doesn't mean that you failed our online assessment. Ergo, it doesn't mean that you're not good enough to train with us. It simply means please come back and try again next year. You can practice these online assessments. Inform yourself as best you can about what different law firms are doing. There are different resources, I think, out there, student resources telling people what who's using what. So I'm happy to share with you that this is our vendor. We do believe in strengths, and you can go onto their website and do your own strengths, your own profile, and practice, get a bit of self-knowledge and realize what your own strengths are. So, just as much self-awareness as you can get about your own strengths and weaknesses and behaviors will stand you in good stead generally. Oh my goodness. Right. At this point, you can see now how the numbers have dropped, and I am just calling 8% through to interview. And we're not just calling you to interview, we are calling you to also take our Chinese language assessment. Remember, I said spoken, written, read Chinese is very important, not essential, but important, as well as our English written assessment. So if you do get to interview, congratulations, you should be really proud of yourself. This is your chance now to shine. So think about your presentation, be on time and your timekeeping, do practice ahead, your basic interview skills, but most importantly, be yourself, or at least a professional version of yourself, and shine. And just the common courtesies that work in any area of life. Send a follow-up thank you. You don't have to do it, but I always notice the students who do things like connect on LinkedIn, follow the law firm, just do what you can to, remain in my mind as we go through all of those interviews. So from that 8%, as I said, you're in a really strong position because we made offers to 7% of those people who came to interview. And not everybody accepted us. That's fine. We understand that candidates are applying to more than one place, and indeed you should apply to more than one place. I encourage you to do so. So when candidates, chose not to accept us, I was like, absolutely fine. And all I did was go back to our online assessment, and the next person who is the highest scoring, I make sure I mix up surnames, so I'm not expressing a preference with people who are early in the alphabet as opposed to people who are late in the alphabet. So if people have the same score, I'll be doing it randomly, but it is literally the next person in line that I will call to interview. So what if you are made an offer for a summer internship? Well, maybe you don't have a dilemma because you want to come to us or you want to go to that firm. Great, accept it. Or maybe you think, I'm not going to get any other offers. This is the one. Not everybody is going to get multiple offers. That's also fine. Accept. But what if you do have a stronger preference for elsewhere? And then again, this is where I notice law students treating us, some do it well, some do it less well. So the people who do it well politely ask for an extension to the deadline that we have given them. Just say, I need a bit more time to think about it. That's absolutely fine. I'm not going to be offended. And personally, if I can extend the deadline, I will. And this summer I generally gave up to an additional week to consider. Now, that is not going to be all law firms, and that is not going to be all graduate recruitment managers. I hear stories about the pressure that graduate recruitment managers do give to law students to accept there and then. You will just have to manage that. So some firms will respond to a hard no to a request for an extension, but there is no harm in asking. However, people always remember how you behave. So don't be the person that accepts, doesn't mean it, and then pulls out later and then really causes me a headache as I try to backfill a space I wasn't anticipating having. In a sense, you've got to be mindful that you've got to wish your fellow law students all the best. You're not all in direct competition. Don't deprive somebody else of an opportunity by simply not communicating. Okay, now that you've been listening to me, so I'm now going to invite Gina, who was our summer intern a couple of years ago, together with Kelvin, to really talk through what to expect on a JSM summer internship. Over to you, Gina.
Thank you, Rachel. as you guys have heard, so after applying on going through all the interviews, you get some internship offer, and if you do take it, then you get to choose if it's June or the July batch. And so I think when I did my internship 2 years ago, I think each batch had around 15 people. So yeah, that's the approximate number when I did my intern. And so
Gina, we've got fewer trainees there, fewer summer interns there. So what does that tell you based on what I was just saying?
So I think right now the headcount is probably getting lower. So as you can see, I think there's only 8 summer interns in this batch.
Yeah,
so,
in June.
Yeah, yes. So this is because of the business needs of the firm. So it can vary each year. So it really depends. But yes, so it spans over 4 weeks, either if it's in June or July. And I think during these 4 weeks, you go through a lot of things. So I think it's both hard work and fun at the same time. So I still remember my first day when I just got there. Obviously, because I did not know everyone yet. So I was nervous, but at the same time also excited, because on the first day, you already get to know your practice area, what you're going to do for the next 4 weeks. I was in the real estate development team, and I still remember after doing a morning of induction, then we were invited to a lunch. So during the lunch, you get to know your buddy who was a trainee of your practice area, and you also meet all the summer interns and also their buddies as well. So I think it's a really great opportunity to meet everyone on the first day. And yeah, I think just throughout the 4 weeks, you really get to work on hands-on experience on the work. Both trainees and associates would engage you in different work. For example, like, reading contracts, doing legal research. I think it's a really great opportunity to know what the firm does and whether it's suitable for you, whether you like the culture or whether you like the work of the firm. And however, apart from work, you also have different commitments. For example, there are some assessments at the firm, and this would include a presentation, which is called Updates in the Law. And yeah, so you can see, so this presentation, it is an opportunity for you to demonstrate your ability in terms of doing legal research, because you'll be required to do, I think, around 10 to 15-minute presentation, which is about a legal update of the practice area that you're working in. So yeah, but you get around 3 weeks to prepare for that, and you could discuss with your partner and also buddy about the presentation. So, but I think it really is an opportunity for the firm to also learn about what are the legal updates and trends that are going on, because this is open to everyone in the firm, and also for yourself to train your legal research skills, I think. But however, hard work aside, I think there's also fun. So I think at GSM, there's a lot of focus on both DEI and pro bono work. You can see on the left side, this is a sign language workshop. So this means the interns here are doing like hello in sign language. So yeah, remember when I did my internship, there was also DEI workshops. We did DEI quizzes. During the internship. So you get to know that GSM puts a lot of focus on DEI. And you can see on the right, this is the gathering, which is pro bono based. So because GSM also took a lot of focus on pro bono work. And so this is an opportunity for the pro bono team with the partners and also pro bono trainees to expand their repertoire and also to engage with the interns, and also to allow interns to know more about the pro bono work at GSM. And yeah, so I think over the 4 weeks, it's going to be fast, but you get to go through a lot. You get to know about the culture of the firm. You get to work on a lot of real life transactions and deals, and you know whether the firm is right for you. And also you can make friends with the interns because you're with them every day. You guys will have lunch every day together. So yeah, you would in the end, it's going to be fun and you're going to make a lot of friends as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel.
Thank you, Gina. Okay, so just to wrap up, because we're approaching the end of our time together, if you are targeting training in Hong Kong as a solicitor, we welcome, as a UK graduate, we very much do welcome your application. Applications will open on our website on the 1st of September. You now know that we recruit on a non-rolling basis, so you don't need to get it in on the 1st of September, but you must get it in before the deadline, which will be early January. We've given you some tips on how to handle that recruitment process. And I really hope that by sort of flipping it and showing you what I see, that you will not be the student who self-selects out or has to write me a sad email, because I really don't want to do that. I really don't want to have to reject people on that basis. But also I hope that through Kelvin and Gina sharing their experiences of how they got to where they are now, and their journey is still ongoing. They're going to be joining us in August as trainees, so they are still 2 years away from qualifying. I hope that presents you with a really strong roadmap for how to support yourself with your next steps. So thank you all very much for joining us. We welcome any questions at any time, either here or welcome to get in touch with us via LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rachel, Gina and Calvin. That was incredibly informative. And I know I say that, for many of our sessions, but that particularly was very informative about Hong Kong, but also your views as trainees and internship participants, and also those insights from the graduate recruitment process manager. That's fantastic. Thank you. So you say that questions are invited. Is LinkedIn the most appropriate way? Is that where?
I think it's the easiest. Yeah. I do all my LinkedIn when I'm on the MTR on the train. Okay. It's right. The least burdensome. So yeah, LinkedIn is fine for me. Okay. Don't send me an email. I've got way too many of those.
Thanks. I'm very conscious that we're almost out of time, but that was perfectly timed to fit the hour with lots of tips and information. Thank you so much again. Particularly good to see you, Gina, on a personal note, as a Warwick alum. I will be reaching out to you all because you've certainly triggered some things in me about how we can better support our students applying to Hong Kong firms and what we can do to support their journey. Things that have not been obvious to me. I've certainly learned a lot. So thank you.